Hello and welcome to Data Toboggan. In this lightning talk, I'm going to be addressing the analytics in the age of AI. So this is going to be a fun topic around just 10 minutes, an introduction, and we can cover a little bit of, what is coming to Power BI and Fabric. Just quick introduction. My name is Gaston Cruz. I'm director for the Microsoft Center of Excellence in Slalom. I'm also a Microsoft MVP in their platform. I live in Seattle. I'm from Uruguay, South America. Came to Seattle kind of 4 years ago. I'm a data engineer, certified trainer, and also I am part of the member of the leadership for the Seattle Power BI user group. I also part of the organizers for what we call Azure and Bar, YouTube channel, and also part of the Power Mates channel that we just started a few weeks ago. I love to play table tennis, piano, reading, and photography. Let's dive in our topic for today. So, first of all, Fabric, Microsoft Fabric. The announcement was a few weeks back in the Microsoft Build sessions. Microsoft is coming with a whole new platform around different workloads for different personas. Data Factory is going to be there as the main integration. Synapse Data Engineer with notebooks and Lakehouse Data Warehouse is going to be there for SQL lovers. Data scientists have another workload for them. Real-time analytics all around custom databases and so on. Data Activator, a whole new product is going to be there for triggers, monitoring, alerts, and so on. And of course, Power BI. And I want to kind of stop and step back, and this is kind of the main purpose for me on this lightning talk, because I as a Power BI user group leader, I've been having kind of this request from our network and from our team, meaning that they've been asking us, okay, what's going on? What's going to happen with Power BI now that we have Fabric all around Fabric user groups, and how I can get a little bit of the sense of Fabric. What happened in my case if I land to Fabric, but I belong to the Power BI world? How I can catching up with all those workloads? Those are pretty much different questions that I've been receiving as a leader of a user group nowadays, in terms of how people can get that sense if they come from a little bit different perspective. They are not data engineers, they are not data architects, they don't become from notebooks and Python scripts and all the stuff. So how they can leverage Fabric and start understanding. First of all, go to Microsoft Learn. There's a whole learning path around Fabric. You can catching up on that one. If you don't have any licensing or you need a little bit of trial versions, feel free to go to the Microsoft 365 E5 developer program. You can sign up with your personal email. You can start a trial version, then you can ramping up on Fabric. It's pretty easy to setting up your own environment to start trying. And the other concept that I want to cover is you don't need to go one by one with all these frameworks and all these steps. You can go one by one and say, okay, if you want to start switching from Power BI into different workloads, you can start understanding each of those workloads one by one, step by step. That is my very first advice. The other topic that I would love to address, and let me find my window to share here, is when you land into Microsoft Fabric for the first time, perhaps you belong to the Power BI world. So you're going to go directly to your Power BI environment. Even if you're talking about catching up on Fabric, you're going to see everything that you used to see: reports, workspace, data sets, data flows, dashboards. All your artifacts, they're going to be there. They're not going anywhere. But main question from users that I've been hearing in a bunch of different communities: how I can start the process of getting the sense of what I can do in Fabric, or how I can get advantage. As I mentioned before, step by step. So One of the very first steps that I advise, and this is coming back to 6, 7 years, remember all of us that we were in trainings for a while with Power BI just show up in production for the very first time. Remember in the very first dashboard in a days that we were discussing, okay, if you belong more from the Excel world and you are trying to make the switch between Excel and Power BI, the first thing was trying to not think about Power BI as your competitor. It's not a solution that is going to compete with your knowledge around Excel, because it's not Excel. It's another solution that's going to bring you the best of analyze and the analytics behind your data that you can be leveraging with Excel. Same happens here. If you're already in Power BI and you make the whole learning path into Power BI, you learn about visualization, storytelling, then you learn a bunch of things around business logic, DAX, doing ETLs with Power Query, then jumping into the data flows world and all the stuff. It's kind of the same. You're going to be starting with a new framework, so one step at a time. Meaning that you can go to Power BI. As you can see, you have all the workloads here. My advice is, if you're already familiar with data flows in Power BI, you understand the concept of getting data, mashing up the data, doing the transformations, cleansing the data. You've been doing that in Power BI for a while. You can do almost the same in the Data Factory framework here. So Data Factory allows you to do the ETL process, and there's two main concepts here. You have the option to create your own pipeline to land the data into one lake, that is the backend for Fabric, or you have the data flow generation too. If we spin up a data flow generation tool, and this is kind of trying to get the sense of what's going on here. If you are familiar with Power BI, you're going to be familiar with this option here, because the data flow generation tool allows you to have the same experience getting the data, adding all the sources that you need, and there's all the connectors that we used to have in the Power BI desktop and service option, with all these data sources that you can spin up in terms of sourcing for your data flow at this point. Let's say that and this is my advice, start simple. Start with a quick scenario. Let's say that you have an Excel file in your OneDrive or your machine. You're going to start with importing from Excel. So you're going to start requesting, okay, I'm going to upload one file. I'm going to get one file from my, let's say, AdventureWorks. This is my machine, and I'm uploading just an Excel file and making the connection to that Excel file. So this is exactly what you are been doing in Power BI for a while, but you are using the Data Factory artifact within Fabric to make it happen. So in this case, the experience is kind of the same. You're clicking on the tables that you're going to be landing into your Fabric environment. And from here, you're going to be doing the exactly same mashup of the data, transformation, keeping the rows, doing all the things that you've been doing in Power BI for a while. So in this case, I'm using the visual query. If I need to append or merge or whatever I need to do, you have, of course, the data view in this scenario, and you can start looking at your queries, in this case, your tables, and doing all the mashup as usual. Let's say that you want only to get some of the columns from the sales table. You're going to choose columns here and only pick some of the columns that you're going to get. And the Power Query environment is going to be here. So this is exactly the same framework with a quick difference. In this case, you can mash up the data and then add a destination. You can land the data after the mashup from the data flow generation tool and land that data into an Azure SQL database or a Lakehouse in Fabric or an Azure Data Explorer or an Azure Synapse SQL Data Warehouse. And that allows you to start the process, first of all, with one artifact. You are not starting with all Fabric. You are starting with a data factory and a data flow generation tool. that is pretty familiar with anything that you've been doing in Power BI as a developer. Then you can land the data from Dataflow in Lakehouse, and the next step for you is going to be understanding what is a Lakehouse and what are the advantages to use a Lakehouse. So that's a little bit of a recap, lightning talk for me. This was just a recap and some advice for our Power BI developers that are going to be trying Fabric for the first time. Don't be afraid, don't be shy, start one step at a time, and you're going to be successful in this framework. So thanks again for the invite. You have my connections there, Twitter, LinkedIn. You can connect with me later, and happy to talk and discuss what are the main benefits to land from Power BI into the Fabric environment. Thank you.